Well, that kind of leads into the next section that I want to talk to us about, is we're going to look here at apprenticeship, the nuts and bolts of developing leaders, how this happens. And again, I've used this in the marketplace, in the businesses that I've led in developing a growing business. And I've seen this in ministry at a church level. I've seen this in an international ministry. I used to be the president of an international missions organization. And we started with 24 staff members in 1989, and this thing grew to be something where we were doing work in 23 countries around the world. All right, and it was all about leadership development. And year over year, just seeing God raise up emerging leaders. The cool thing here is you're not having to build the church. Jesus is doing that. You just have to have your eyes open and invite people into what God is doing. And then he'll energize them and use them, bring their gifts out of them, and they'll begin to develop into their redemptive potential that God has put in them. It's the coolest thing. I just never get tired of it. It's just fantastic to be a part of. To watch this multiplication thing, literally, there's no stopping it once we get it started. Okay? Here's the nuts and bolts. Here's how. Now, the class that I told you about, intercultural leadership development, there's 3 types of education. There's formal education, go get your degree. There's non-formal education. There's an explosion of non-formal education today. This is books, this is seminars, this is online material, this is the Khan Academy. Today, if you want knowledge, you can go get it. All right, it's just at your fingertips. You just need to spend a half an hour researching, and virtually you can find some great material out there for your development. Okay, and so that's the non-formal education piece. The third type of education is historically throughout the history of mankind is probably the best and most powerful way. It's informal education. This is the mentorship, apprenticeship relationship. All right, this is life-to-life transference. This is coaching. And you see this in our trades. This is the way we've educated electricians and plumbers and craftsmen throughout the years, because it's not just head knowledge, it's the ability to do a skill. And in the case of the church, it's the ability to do a skill from a position of character, from a position of godliness, from a position of spiritual maturity. And that takes time. All right? If being godly was filling your head full of verses, you just come to a situation like this and we give you lots and lots of Bible verses. That's the foundation of the building, but it's not the building. It's built upon truth, but the building is your character. The building is the ability to do the ministry, to grow in the ministry. And the best model for that is apprenticeship. All right, and so the best model for training our leaders is life-to-life transference. All right, and so there's a pathway and a pipeline that occurs. Individuals in the church, they get invited into apprenticeship. And I've seen this happen, this very kind of thing that's on the board here right now, where then an apprentice of a group becomes a Summit Connect group leader or a small group leader or a ministry leader, and then they start seeing that ministry grow. And then as it begins to multiply, they're in a natural relationship to coach the groups that have started from the group they were leading. And so they become a group coach or a ministry coach. And then I've seen some of those actually become directors over a ministry. We're looking at one right here, Dan. That's exactly the pathway that he's been on. And then I've seen some of those go on to actually become church planners and leading and pastors of churches. It's really cool to watch. All right. And I was just at a conference recently. The guy who was teaching was sharing a story of a very similar pathway that he went through, and he's actually overseeing multiple churches now today. And he was just some guy that came to know the Lord working in the marketplace. And then he went through similar training like this, and God just opened up a world of ministry opportunity because of taking that first step and saying, yep, I'll do it. All right, so this is kind of the leadership pipeline. I just show that to show what could happen, all right? Some of the people you pour into might be leading a church one day. And that's a pretty cool concept to think about.